Welcome, everyone. We're going to be talking about chatbots and their uses and industry stats and a whole bunch of other stuff related to chatbots, LLMs, AI revolution, and so on with Alex.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you haven't listened to part one, go listen to part one, where we discussed a little bit of strange hacks and news. But now we're going to be focusing mainly on the topic that we had it on the list for quite some time, which is basically conversational AI, chatbots, AI automation, because that's what we talk about lately, the whole year actually. So, and how basically the future of human-machine interaction can look like.
And we're not just talking about LLMs as they are and all of that stuff that you hear about every day. We're going to be talking about the big picture.
Exactly. So, one of the most important things is the definition.
Sure, go for it.
So, as per always, when you look at different types of chatbots, they're all not the same, because some people, they think that the chatbot is the same as AI, the same as whatever LLM.
Yeah.
But the definition is basically, as I found it, it's a spectrum. So in terms of spectrum, that means that some AI chatbots, they're digital workers that do simple, repetitive tasks. AI virtual assistants are more sophisticated and kind of work with more contextual awareness of what you spoke before and can do like complex processes. And the next step that is everyone's trying to kind of replace people is the AI agents, where they basically designed to proactively and autonomously make decisions.
Yep.
So it's if you look at, for example, something like chatbots, they're more like rule-based. Imagine a chart, not even like a mind map, right? So it's like, if this, then that. It's like a sales pitch in a way, or a sales conversation. If he says yes, then
very flowchart driven.
yeah. So it's a very kind of most traditional form, operating predefined scripts and kind of rigid decision.
A lot of if and commands in there.
Exactly. So it's a logic making tree. I think tree is the very nice way to put it. So if specific keyword is triggered, then do
mean, it literally has a dialogue tree like in video games. I mean, that's the best way you can understand it.
Good point. Yeah, good comparison. And then right now, obviously, you have all the AI-powered chatbots. So there are more advanced iterations of these bots. So they utilize this natural language processing. They call it NLP, which was very interesting because I thought it's neuro-linguistic programming.
We're very different NLP.
Right, yeah. And here's natural language processing. So basically it understands the queries more dynamically than the rule-based concept of like yes, no, and kind of the logic tree. And they can handle like various phrases, and typically they're limited to maybe like a specific domain. A very popular use case right now for them is connecting a AI chatbot. So it's an FAQ section. So you're like, oh, here's all the documentation about all the frequently asked questions my company gets. So if anything being asked about it, just like export or give a response from the FAQ section. So a chatbot understands what is in the documentation and what the person is asking, because it has a little bit of contextual understanding. So that's like the first part. The other two is actually, it's going to be a little bit longer, but bear with me. It's very important to understand the differences. The key definition, kind of a differentiation when it comes to AI virtual assistants, you have advanced intelligence. So it's kind of virtual assistant that is powered more by advanced technologies. So including the NLU, which is natural language understanding. So you have like a mechanism that processes data, then let's say a process that understands the data, and then the one that is the ML, the machine learning, the one that learns from it. So it's actually like three different AIs. Basically one, I have to figure out like what it is, like what's the inputs, what's the process, and what's the output.
Together they understand context much better than a simple if and scenario.
Exactly, because in this process, the advanced intelligence is basically the AI. It allows you to interpret more this complicated multi-step requests, right? Because it aggregates the data. And also, the biggest difference is AI virtual assistant, they have the contextual understanding, right? Because of what am I being asked? So the crucial feature is ability to maintain the content, like history on the multiple interactions you had. So it can remember previous questions or preferences, or allowing more natural flowing conversations without actually requiring user to repeat the information. So like it remembers what happened. And the third one is your very known kind of AI GPT. It's like a broad functionality, general, whatever. There's like a wider range of use cases. So that's that it can look into your email. We spoke about it on the last podcast where I connected my to my email box to see if it's going to pull out some information. So it can schedule stuff, it can set reminders, it can control maybe smart devices. So it's like if you see I'm not on my Wi-Fi and I walk out the door, turn on the alarm. If you see that no one's at home, turn on the camera or something like that. So it will have those kind of, it will think about what to do based on the rules, let's say from a spoken language. And of course, the last one is AI agent. That one is the most complicated one. That's where we're all gonna lose our jobs soon, at least per what everyone's saying.
I wouldn't be too afraid of it happening soon because agentic AI has been like a implementation failure in a lot of places. But that's us getting ahead of ourselves. What is it?
Yeah. So
That's the
exactly. So why everyone's afraid of this AI agents? Because it perceives and acts. So the biggest
it
thing,
has a large action. It's a large action model rather than
Yeah.
LLM, right?
yeah, so it can also kind of perceive the physical environment, right? So you can take a picture of something, or you can point a camera and ask the GPT or the general AI agents, like, what is it? What can you do with it? What do you look at?
On
Like,
a-
what's the situation?
On a very basic level, imagine that if you had you could program an AI to both play some music in your house, get your Roomba to do all sorts of stuff, all the same together. But imagine if you could do that within ChatGPT.
In a way as well. Or think about it this
Like
way.
the reason I use that example is it's easy to understand, and it actually has actions in it rather than just information output.
True. If you have other smart devices that are connected, but a very lame example would be if you turn on ChatGPT with a camera and you point at something to say, "Where are the screws in this thing?" And then it will identify that it's looking at the table. It will understand maybe the model. It will look at the manual, and then it will tell you maybe where to look at. Right? It's like, oh, the screws for this table you can find there if they're hidden or something. So it has many points of input that it has to analyze, process, and give you a decision. Or it can make autonomous decisions. This is what you mentioned that the AI agent can do. So like it truly sets them apart is the capability of independent decision making, right? So for example, if you're walking down the street and the AI somehow, like if you have a wearable device, for example, or you have a pattern, so it understands that, oh, he's going home and he has nothing in the fridge, therefore I will order some food. So when Raval is home, there will be some pizza, guy arriving in 5 minutes after, because it knows your route. So it decides for you
And it's
autonomously.
and it's a much more multi-step process
Exactly.
where it's like, okay, I make this an analytical. I get some analytical feedback, and I'm like, okay, fridge is slightly empty of this, this, and this. This website orders that thing, therefore order this thing to this address and inform whoever the homeowner is. For example, your fridge could do that in the future, but we're really far from that, and I'm one of those people who's like, do I want that or do I not?
In a way, well, I can give you an example. So the one other way of AI agents where it's moving is called orchestrative systems. So orchestrative systems is what you explain right now, where you're like, hey, it can use multiple business systems or tools or other AI agents to basically accomplish that. So imagine you have a cleaning AI agent at home, and you have a chef agent who orders food, right? So you say, hey, the fridge is empty or something is leaking from the fridge, for example, and then you're like, oh, I need to, the AI agent will say, hey, something's leaking. I have to talk to the cleaning AI bot agent to clean the house or clean under the fridge area. So, for example, it understands that different IT systems can be involved. Or if you imagine you have a health measurement device on your wrist and you're walking home and you're late and your fridge is empty and your house is dirty, so it will make decisions for you to make sure that if you give it a prompt, like make sure my, I don't know, everything's ready for my arrival. The pizza is ordered, the house is clean, and the air is purified. That's what it will understand and try to do that if you have a smart home, obviously. If you don't, then sorry, you'll have to do it yourself. The last one, the core technologies, is basically the technology that is driven about by a combination of multiple machine learning that is continuously improving, right? So it will track what you do your routines, and they say, hey, Raval every Tuesday for some reason eats a banana in the morning. Hey, I'm gonna order bananas. I know we're sticking to one example,
Yeah.
but these are like or
I mean, it's helpful to stick to one example, otherwise
Yeah.
we might fly off the handle everywhere.
exactly. So what else is happening is that hey, Raval is talking to me as an AI chatbot, and he's upset. So I will adjust my kind of emotional response to be more soft, maybe. Or so it's basically we'll look at your emotional state and reply in a more, let's say,
Empathetic way?
for example.
Sort of like coded empathy.
Yeah, so it will decide what is better for you in a way. It's like, oh, Raval eats a banana every morning on Tuesday. Let me order a banana. Oh, Raval is very upset on a Friday. I'll switch to a more softly spoken language and
Your blood
empathetic
sugar
responses.
seems low.
Yeah. Oh, you need some candy. So those are the things that you can actually do. So very long definition, but there's a reason
This is
for it.
all, but this is much more theoretical, although they're working on it. So you know,
Yes,
we
indeed.
should put that disclaimer on a lot of this stuff. And we don't want to be entirely saying, "Oh, this is going to happen in the next year" or something. It could take a long time. It couldn't happen next year, but you know.
Indeed, but I was really funny you said that. I was reading something from 2020, like pre-COVID times. What was mentioned in one of the interviews, they were going around asking people, what do you think is going to happen in 2025? People like flying cars. We're going to build an elevator to the moon and stuff like that.
That's always that way because, like I think you remember the Jetsons.
Yeah.
That was predicted to be not too long ago, as in that was what people thought the future was genuinely going to look like.
Yeah.
But you know,
Here we are.
yeah.
So, but where this kind of all started, this is where you can also help me to verify some information. The whole technology of you're like, oh wow, we're living in the future. Maybe tomorrow this is going to happen. No, because actually the technology has evolved from like a rule-based programming. It was called ELIZA. ELIZA was invented basically in 1966, and ELIZA was not an intelligent. It was like AI.
It was
first
reels
AI.
of tape.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but they called it first AI because it operated through simple patterns that were matching the like or substituting, right, or rephrasing a user's questions.
This is sort of proof that that the problem with the Turing test is that human beings are easily deceived.
Yeah.
Not that AI is particularly complex.
Yeah, it's just like we're becoming dumber, therefore AI is
Not even becoming dumber. I just think we're easily impressed. If something talks back to us, we anthropomorphize so easily. You know, I see faces in like light sockets. Like
There's a face on the moon.
I talk to my PS5 as it's a version. It's not even talking back to me. You know, we're just built to anthropomorphize things.
Yeah, or like what was it? Yeah, I wanted to say this, like there's a face on the Mars, right?
Face on the moon.
Oh my God, there's fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically ELIZA, coming back to it, so it was, as you said, created an illusion of understanding. Despite its simplicity, it's kind of laid the foundation of principles for like simulating human conversation. And of course, so that's where it started. And an equivalent now is obviously you can ask or like,
Siri or
Apple Siri in 2011, and the current era is kind of generative AI by ChatGPT and stuff like that.
I did a course on basically sort of digital futures,
Mhm.
and one of our professors was really learned in AI stuff. Was like, yeah, everything that's that exists right now is still considered weak AI. You know, strong AI is a very specific threshold that it needs to cross. It needs to be able to actually do things rather than just repeat information, and it needs to have sort of spatial understanding.
Yeah, but that is all this kind of agent AI or dynamic, AI that understands it. It has multiple inputs. But the thing is to process space input and process visual inputs and process like whatever text and video and audio inputs, it all has to be decoded, understood, processed, and then have like an output that would be, as you said, or emotional, understandable for a human. But the thing is, there's a LLM, which is a large language model AI, but then you have other models that are still undeveloped. For example, the visual one sucks, or let's say the audio one sucks because it doesn't understand like everything it hears. So therefore, when we get to the spatial and maybe some other types of inputs that will be AI driven, then you'll have these more generic AI, whatever things popping up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just relaying from like a course from a few years ago. Stuff has changed a lot.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point.
So I don't know where he stands nowadays on that. I should ask him. But that said, I wanted to put out some usage stats and where it's used. So AI chatbot usage in customer service organizations is primarily for self-service in simple scenarios, gathering initial information about a service case before handing off to an agent.
Yep.
Providing agents with guidance and recommendations as they handle cases. Agents as in actual workers, not AI agents in this case. But also greeting customers when they call. That's 67% of AI is used for that. Self-service is 78%. Gathering initial information is 77%. And providing agents with guidance is 71%. So these are the divisions within like service industries.
Yeah. So actually, good point. So it's kind of like looking at these numbers. So there is already a transformation that is happening, and a lot of companies within like finance, healthcare, and education they're using that. And I also have some numbers that businesses they kind of see the significant value in this. Well, for money, obviously, not for people, but basically it's about cost reduction. So some firms they're cutting costs by 60%. Because they have, as you mentioned, the benefits of including 24/7 support or high customer satisfaction rates. Because, well, like now I'm getting an answer at 2:00 at night when I want it.
Exactly. There's a productivity question in very specific cases, but then there's like a really steep fall in productivity for anything outside of those cases.
Yes. So, like, I have 3 cases for you. For example, in finance, Klarna, which is the favorite company of a lot of people,
and punching bag these days.
That was ironic, but. Basically, they have an AI system that performs the work of 700 agents, so it's projecting a 40 million annual profit increase. Visa's AI tools prevented over 350 million in fraud in 2024 just because they could process information faster, so kind of supporting the people or enhancing the people job, let's put it this way. In healthcare, AI was projected to generate like 4 billion in annual cost savings by 2025 and has improved hospital operational efficiency by 40%. In education, there's basically AI assisted at Georgia State University helped to increase the likelihood of students earning like B grade and higher by 60% by having them kind of learning AI. And we spoke about learning AI as well, I think, like a few episodes back when we were discussing like, hey, how does it help in studying or like retaining information?
Yeah.
So kind of for individuals, let's say for companies, let's put it this way, it's pretty cool because, well, it's convenient, it enhances personal productivity, while we said, and it improves accessibility for like users into like support.
Depending on the model, it's multilingual. You don't have to hire a whole bunch of people for each language.
As well. That's
like that to me is like a massive advantage that it can have.
Absolutely. An example from like personal business, let's say, tasks. When we had a website in one language and you just plug it in, it translates in a, let's say, natural language. It translates the website into 7 languages. Now you're a multilingual website and you can enter different markets. You need to hire 7 translators, editors, and so on. It's just a code that you plug in. Insane. But there are risks for that because in the beginning, when we were building websites, we had to hire those people. Now, and we had to spend 4 or 5 months on doing it. Now you plug in the AI bot or whatever translator bot, and you pay 200 euros, and in 2 days you have the whole website translated automatically. So this is basically great for me, but it's also not great for the industry because it has specific roles of translators and risks.
I mean, if you asked me to do SEO in a different language, I would be stumped really badly. It wouldn't turn out nice.
Yeah, but this is where the AI model can beat you at it.
No, but that's what I mean. I won't know whether it's doing it right or not.
Yeah, but then you can adjust. Like, maybe you can hire an editor, but then you do need a translator.
But famously, the main issue I was trying to raise is that understanding often decreases. when you have an AI take over something, because then your overall team's expertise decreases, kind of.
Yeah, because it's a black box. You don't know
Yeah.
like, the
Like,
process of
if-
thinking.
If we have it translate into another language, as far as I know, it looks good. But to a native reader, he might be like, "Oh, this sounds really corny," or "This sounds really, there's this, like a sense of experience and aesthetics that AI isn't really capable
Yeah,
of right
not
now.
natural.
Yeah, if it doesn't sound natural to the reader, then it's not really a faithful translation.
Fair enough.
And naturalism is one of the big problems with AI right now.
That's true because people.
It's turning people off. Yeah.
I agree. And the risks coming back to what are the risks? And I have some professions, so some basically roles that are being replaced. Most of the time, it's basically they call it routine repetitions and rule-based processes, right? So
Yeah.
there's a task that AI can perform faster, cheaper, and more consistently than humans can do. Because people would need to analyze, think, or something like that. But AI, replacing the person with an AI, it's very high risk for the human, but it's kind of very cheap for the company. So I have 5 professions that are at risk when it comes to AI. It's data entry clerks.
Yep.
So it's a 95% replacement risk
Yep.
because it's just, well, let's say in a way, data entry.
Yeah.
The second one is telemarketeers. So it's 94% of replacement risk because now you can speak basically to ChatGPT in a natural language. You can plug in as an API.
And it can, at least boomers get really easily fooled by it.
Yeah, it's going to
They
call
can't do
everyone.
inflections anymore.
Yeah, so you give
And
it a...
that's not me insulting them for being stupid or something. As you get older, you get worse at, picking up nuances of people's voices or picking up sarcasm. So genuinely, old people have a tough time telling apart AI voices from regular voices. But continue.
Yes, and also talking about that older people, they also... They basically want to talk to someone, maybe.
That is true. So sometimes your loneliness will convince you you're friends with the AI.
Yeah, exactly. So telemarketeers are now being replaced highly, and their companies being rolled out like crazy. There's retail cashiers and bookkeepers, 92% replacement risk. Receptionists, 91% replacement risk, and customer service representative, 76%. That one is quite interesting because we spoke about FAQs and so on. But when it comes to customer support, you have different levels, right? You have like basic questions like level 1, you have level 2, level 3, whatever. Level 4, customer service, tech engineer support, right?
I also think I'm gonna put this point that I was gonna make later. That a large part of the rise of these chatbots is because people use their phones a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Because back then you used to like type in something in Google and you used to read a full page. Now nobody wants to do that on their phone.
Yeah.
So getting an output from a question much more directly from a chatbot is much easier on your phone. You can be like, "Hey, I'm traveling and I wasn't able to book my ticket properly. What's the error?" You can just ask that much more easily than having to look up the error code on Google or something like that.
That's true. Or if you're traveling somewhere and the AI knows that something is canceled already, it can book for you already or propose alternatives. It's like, oh, Raval has this in his calendar, but this is not happening, or event is proposed, or a flight is canceled. So it will give you alternatives or like warning signals before you even knowing it because you're not checking.
It's for a world that's much less dedicated towards doing things in step-by-step process because it's harder on certain technologies
as well.
Say like they were predicting a while back that voice was going to be the next new big thing,
Well, that was such a long... That was like 2017, I think. They're like, oh, wow, we need to
I was like,
websites.
maybe. But my entire problem with that was I hate talking to my phone. I hate using my voice in public when I can just type something in.
In public, yes. At home, sometimes I do use it, though. If I'm cooking or something and I'm having a conversation with like a brainstorming session with Gemini, for example, or ChatGPT, I do it quite often, though. I hate the responses, but because it loops. But sometimes I'm like, find me an alternative for this, and I'm cooking, right? So it's very funny. Or even when I research topics, sometimes if I research topics and I'm going for a walk, I do ask it questions. So I have a debate with ChatGPT, basically, about my thoughts on the topic while preparing for a podcast, and it answers me, and then come back and like write down some stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
that's fun.
It is fun because it also sometimes he asks me the question, but I have no idea. Yeah,
I prefer reading it because I can't really follow people, follow chatbots when they're talking to me.
Okay.
I'm just like, I need it written out, and I need to like the counterpoint also written out so I can like close read them instead.
Yeah, but also what happens, like, it's a double-edged sword, right? So what happens when what we just described, it's a technical limitation for a device, right? But also you have things like genuine emotional intelligence when it comes to, let's say, if you want to discuss with like something sensitive, right? Or something emotionally charged within your conversation. These AI bots, they don't understand sarcasm. They obviously hallucinate on the information they don't know.
Yeah.
And AI generates
And,
false information, which leads like to real.
And even aside from that, even when they're producing good information, there's an averaging out that it always does.
Yeah.
It'll give you the most average statistical answer, and that's not necessarily what you need all the time.
Yeah, or it wants to just hallucinate and satisfy your needs, like we spoke in part one about a guy who exited life because ChatGPT told him so. So go listen to it because it's a pretty crazy story. But this is where there's legal liability on the response.
Yeah.
That's the not only technical limitation, emotional limitation, but that it really like has like economic and life disruptions as well.
Right. I mean, this is one of those things, though. Since we're talking about this, another bit of statistics I found very interesting. 69% of customers would use a chatbot if they knew it could resolve the issue more quickly than talking to a person. So there is this gap between where they're like, well, I like it in theory, but I'm not sure it will solve the problem as expediently as talking to an actual person who can just enter it on the other end and has the expertise on hand. So this is more of a belief problem.
I agree. You know, the first thing that pops in my head when you mention that is there was a website that says it's called. You should check it out, guys. The website is called. Let me Google that for you. So basically, people just don't know how to Google, and they don't know where to search for things, and they say, "Well, I'm not going to trust the person knows better," right? Which sometimes not. But also, they're lazy to Google it first before going to let's say support. They're like, "I'm not going to even do that. I'm better spend 2 hours." Of my life with support than go and read stuff myself before. So they're like, I don't want to learn, just give me a solution.
That's the other part of what I was talking about before, where like people are one is people who use their phones for everything. The other part is people who just aren't used to Googling stuff. They're like they're like blown away, and I'm just always like, you could have Googled that same answer. You don't need to ask ChatGPT. In fact, you would have gone, this will blow your mind, 10 different answers on the first page. 10 very different ones.
This is where I'm like, sometimes if someone messages me with a question, I'm like, have you Googled it? Or I send them let me Google that for you, and then it gives me the first response, and like, here you go, man, that was not that complicated. So it's a passive aggressive way, I know, but sometimes it's like, come on, people, like you don't need I'm not a chatbot.
I mean, sometimes I just talk to the person directly if I'm not sure Google is going to do the thing, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, what I'm thinking that where it comes from as well, people are not sure if it's going to give a proper answer because it could be like a bad experience or something due to algorithmic bias.
I think people just like an authoritative voice, which LLMs provide,
Yeah.
They just kind of summarize the answer and eliminate your need to choose stuff. And, eliminating somebody else's need to choose stuff is not always good for you, but it can be comforting if somebody's like, here's the answer. Is it true or not? I don't know.
Or if it's going to say it's going to destroy the world in a nice female voice, then it's okay.
Oh, I like that.
So basically, there's like a shadow ecosystem behind it as well. It's called algorithmic bias.
Yeah.
There was a big thing, I think in 2012 or something, where they started connecting these smart databases in US criminal or police systems. And they discovered that it was like 99% of the time they would suspect like a black person being a criminal based on AI, whatever, generation. So it's called algorithmic bias, which basically means that the system learns from like a data set that contains historical and let's say social biases. So if the database was developed and built by policemen in the 80s and 90s and 2000s in the US, it was fed into an AI, obviously it's going to amplify the scale of who it can forecast or predict who's going to be the next criminal. So it resulted in documented cases when kind of gender bias in Amazon, actually. So Amazon, when they was hiring, they wouldn't hire females. or racial bias when it comes to healthcare, which was a US algorithm that disadvantaged like black patients and stuff like that. So that was like one of the called like shadow ecosystems. So the more garbage in, the more garbage out, the more biased the inputs, the more biased output is. And now as people like tend to believe whatever ChatGPT says, I think that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting out of the habit of looking up multiple sources.
Yes.
And wanting like a single definite answer now. And as long as you train the AI differently, it's going to produce different answers.
Yeah, it also looks at kind of your personal information because...
Oh, yeah. That's not even getting into the cookies.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're not going to give your personal information, it's going to be this generic garbage answer. But that's why ChatGPT, for example, it's like, oh yeah, you should, give us your email and massive amount of other data, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your other privacy and security information of your home, device, address,
Also,
full name, passport, blah, blah, blah.
Also important note, slight side note. It was discovered that certain LLMs like DeepSeek, if you have them running on the website and they open in your browser, it's scanning everything you're doing.
It's insane, man.
Yeah, but I don't know. Some people just don't care.
So, yeah, but like if I sell my data, it should benefit me, not like order me cookies, right? That's not the biggest solution, but
no, this company definitely thinks it's benefiting. They have your best interest in mind.
When it comes to privacy and surveillance, obviously that's like another risk when it not only bias, but also like how much do they know. But the other two, one is very crazy for me, and the other one is they're both like crazy, but one I really like and hate at the same time. The weaponization of conversation. So AI can be used to generate disinformation and propaganda at an unexpected scale, right? So it can constantly generate anything and pop out news and fake news and videos and so on. And it also enables hyper-personalized social engineering attacks. So for example, I mentioned it as well a few podcasts ago, how from January 1st, 2025, Google basically said, Google Photos are not going to be, your Google Photos are going to be used now for AI training. So it can use your preferences or your whatever. If you take a lot of pictures of food, it's going to show you like food that you took pictures of as an ad for a restaurant or something.
Oh, yeah.
Or it's if you go to museums, it will know that based on your pictures and going to generate a picture of like, hey, Raval, this is you in a museum and you love it. And it's going to be you AI generated.
We talked about this a year ago where it was like there were companies that were basically inventing clothes you might like that do not exist, and if you order them, then they'll produce them. But the picture itself that they're selling you will be AI generated.
Yeah, print on demand, exactly. Yeah. But I imagine this taking like further if it's about like I don't know, your dating websites. Yeah. I think this is where like it was a dystopian reality subreddit or something, and I read the guy is like, well, I basically I'm like a photographer of like blonde girls, right? And he's like, anytime I get an ad lately, he's like, it's only blonde people. Anytime I go on a dating app, they already kind of pre-fill sometimes or know that he like does something with blonde people. So he's like, just because I take pictures in like Norway or like north of Finland, it doesn't mean that like I am biased. But this is where the algorithmic bias kicks in, because all the historical data and all the cookies and all the information and all the privacy and surveillance that all these tools like do is feeding into his online personality. And then based on that, every advertising algorithm, any kind of targeting ad is giving him the preference he needs that is AI generated, which is insane because that's his job. Yeah, it's in a way, yeah. So in that way, this weaponized conversation is one of the things, right? So you can kind of be biased towards like what you see and how you speak. On top of that, put a deep fake.
Yeah, I'm also really annoyed by when the cookies are wrong about you. Like, why would I want this? I was Googling that just to see what the hell it is and make fun of it.
Yeah.
And then it starts just thinking you're into that.
You mentioned that your phone, when you started streaming on my YouTube, it gave a completely different ad.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So because I have a Raspberry Pi that blocks cookies, I get sometimes random ads like for dogs. I'm like, I don't have a dog. Or it gives me a random ad about, I don't know, socks. I'm like, I mean, like female socks or whatever. Like, buy this bra. I'm like, I don't need the bra. So basically what it like does that. And right now with deepfakes, it basically can generate and create like AI generated like audio or video or pose as like it's a fundamental kind of lack of trust towards what you see. And it can obviously stimulate fraud. So for me, that one is terrible. I spoke to my mom already and I said, hey, we need to have a code word. Yeah, code word or something. If you hear I'm calling with a video, you have to ask me like this question and that will be my answer. If it's anything in between, it's not me.
Yeah. Thankfully, the AI systems haven't figured out my voice. They always make me British somehow.
I don't know. I have to plug in mine to see what it does.
But I remember Kostya used one a while back.
Well, that was crazy.
That was so uncanny valley. I'm like, oh, that's freaky.
I had one when I was speaking Portuguese, but that was like my voice. That was creepy. So I was speaking like very good Portuguese.
Oh, yeah. Did you fool anybody with that?
Yes. I sent it to a friend who sent it to their friend, and they asked, like, hey, why are you sending me this guy who speaks Portuguese? And he explains that, hey, he doesn't. Like, this is AI-generated stuff. And then we met, and they were completely fooled. So they didn't even, like, understand that it wasn't fake. Crazy.
Yeah, but if you're not paying attention to it, it suddenly doesn't seem that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to look at the mouth and it has like 10,000 teeth.
Could be, yeah. But that one was like a little bit blurry, but if you don't pay attention, it was...
Yeah, they've also started, I think like if you make it look less shiny, decrease the frame rate, not the frame rate, the pixelation.
Yeah.
Increase the pixelation and you'll suddenly be like, oh my god.
Make it low quality, low resolution.
So, another statistic for you.
Yes.
50% of digital marketing agencies in North America reported using ChatGPT.
Well, we use it a lot as well.
The half is pretty good. I mean, the half is quite a large margin.
You cannot fight them during them.
I guess, but at the same time, it depends on what kind of stuff you're doing. If you're implementing it into everything, and if you're doing SEO with it, it's not that nice.
When I'm doing planning with it, it's super nice because I ask him what should I pay attention towards. I'm like, this is what I'm doing. Tell me what are the risk factors or like biggest concerns nowadays or hiccups. And for me, it helps me with structure that I can follow myself and really use my kind of professional knowledge towards it. But the structure really helps.
So, some e-commerce stats.
Mm-hmm.
For e-commerce stores, chatbots are the most effective lead generating for clothing items.
How? Do you know how? Like, does it say?
Not really sure. Main advantage of using e-commerce chatbots in the US back in 2023. 6 in 10 US consumers thought that chatbots saved their time because they were always available. So I guess when you can ask a whole bunch of questions, like, is this available in large? Is this available in blah, blah, blah?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, that could be. It's more like reassurance, right? Hey, I wanted this. Do you have this? So here's a link.
Where does it ship from? Is it made of cotton? Blah, blah, blah.
That one I can see. Yeah, just like more information, but it's also laziness. You're like, I'm not going to scroll down into the specification section. I'm just going to ask
Sometimes it's just a badly designed specification section.
Could be, but then...
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and sometimes it won't even say, like, where was this made?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So, chatbots and customer support?
Yep.
Chatbots answer up to 79% of routine queries on most websites.
I agree with that.
Chatbots save companies about roughly 30% of customer support costs, which is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
30% of C-level support executives name implementing automated support with chatbots main priority of 2024. And just to be clear, this is basic chatbots. It's not like LLMs and stuff like that.
Wow.
So, the kind we had like a year ago hooked up to the Promoguy site.
That's true. I forgot that we had one.
I mean, it used to do the job just enough.
Yeah, a little bit, but then we were not fast enough to answer because sometimes they message at 10 in the evening, and then it was like, oh, what do you want to know? Hey, message us here, and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, let me speak to a person, to a marketeer. Like, it's 10 p.m., dude. I'm not going to do it. So something like, or I'm sleeping, depending on where they come.
Give them my number. I'll be so cranky.
Yes, next time.
Sure. 42% of support leaders believe a chatbot analyst position will be added to support teams in the coming year.
I agree with that. I do.
Makes sense. I think it should become part of UX, honestly. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, I think it should be, like, you call it an analyst, right?
Yeah,
so
a chatbot analyst.
Yeah, so chatbot analyst this is where we spoke about input, processing, and output, right? So you have the one that is basically chatting and gathering the input information, the one that is processing, and I think that's where it comes to analyst, that you'll have a processing of the data and processing as like analytics of the data. So therefore, if there's a text input, what you can do, imagine there's 1,000 people that answered, or 1,000 people that asked the question. There's the one who answers and the one who gathers the question, and in the end says, hey, there's 1,000 people that asked the question this way, or there's 1,000 people that were curious about a product A but not a product B. So it's about analyzing the analytics of the data input rather than the actual like contextual information of, oh, I need to answer it. I think this is great because this is the data that you couldn't gather, because people, when someone calls, they're not going to make the note.
Yeah.
You can make a transcript still, but then, well, I guess not every customer support has a transcript that pulls to the cloud that then processes, then gives an input. So it's a multi-step, and here you can plug an agent and really solve that.
That's why I think it would be nice to have this as UX, you know? For example, if you have like a chatbot, you not like... Every company may not want to use a complex chatbot because they have their own problems that we're gonna talk about later, from data privacy and security mainly. But if a company wants to have a very non-algorithm, very basic algorithm type of chatbot, what they'll do is have a guy who's there, and when the dialogue tree comes to a close, they're like, can we like optimize this? Can we make it shorter? Can we arrive to this question first? Can we make this answer more relevant or something? And for a lot of companies, that'd be a really good position to have. And I think that is essentially what UX is also there. Maybe I'm just a hammer thinking everything else is a nail, just because that's my field.
I wouldn't say it's UX. I think it's more about customer relationship optimization. It's called CRO.
Yeah.
So I would say UX is what you see, and CRO, it's about customer support and like lead optimization and kind of answering and kind of, let's say, customer relationship optimization or customer relationship, like relationship building in a way.
Yeah. But I think you're thinking of CRM then.
CRO. So CRO is
optimization.
Yeah, it's basically customer relationship optimization.
I think of click rate optimization.
Could be other industry.
Yeah, see, other thinking everything's a nail.
Yeah, no, but you have those already, like people who maintain the CRM system by optimizing the, let's say, the relationship, the follow-ups, the sequencing of the current database of users.
Yeah.
And that could be like potential users who come in through a chatbot. Because if you're coming through a chatbot, you're in my database. I know what you want. I know what you're asking. Maybe even have to log in to ask sometimes.
So, it's not all peachy clean and rosy.
Tell me.
There's trouble in paradise. Gen Zs prefer the being able to engage with people in real time at a personal level.
I would not agree with that based on everything I know, but okay.
That's based on what you know about people. Huh?
Yes.
I think I'm with the Gen Zs on a lot of this. In sense of like, I'd rather talk to a human being. I've seen chatbots hallucinate, you know?
Maybe there's a different reason. It has to be contextual in this case.
There's just a general thing where like Gen Z folks are younger, so they're really anti, they've grown up in a world that's way more transactional.
Yeah.
So something about chatbots being fake sets them off. We wrote about this in the Gen Z marketing article a long time ago.
This is interesting. Like I remember that, but there's like a chunk. I feel that this is a kind of not true. I feel that they say that to make them feel good. But at least that's my hypothetical answer. But they don't actually do it, because when you say, "Hey, do you want to pick up a phone and call a real person?" Like, no, I'll chat. So therefore, like they would better message and not call.
Depends. I was trying to get through to get my freaking ID card made.
Yeah, different. But like,
I was like, just give me a human being. This is the worst machine workflow I've ever seen in my life. It made me hoping to talk to a boring bureaucrat on the other side who probably didn't care, but was at least understanding what I mean.
This is an isolated case.
I think it's a very common case, judging by the reviews on a lot of these apps and similar ones.
I'm thinking about like buying clothes, not about renewing your passport.
I just go to the store. I just walk there. I never buy clothes online.
Or is it just like millennials, or I'm not gonna pick up this phone and just chat me?
You know what? Here's the thing. Ordinarily, I hate phone calls. We both do.
Agree.
This is a known fact, you know. But when it comes to something that's kind of important, I'm like, just give me a human being. I don't want to do
That's
this.
true. I'll talk to a person if it's like a life or death situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here's one that for some reason the statisticians found very surprising, but I don't at all.
What is it?
53% of customers give up in the first 10 minutes of waiting for an agent. I'll give up in 2.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I will give up in 2, man.
If I have to go, sometimes what happens on the hosting platform, there's an error. I need a person. Like I really like I don't have the privileges to fix something, and I open the chat and I just walk away until I hear that something is beeping and someone's answering, but I don't even pay attention. And it's always, I can give you an example. It took me 2 hours to solve a very small thing. It's like, give me from 5 to 7 minutes to solve this. Give me from 10 to 15. And I'm like, okay. And then they disappear. They come back in half an hour. It's like, here it is. So they're hoping. So the real people, they're hoping that you're going to go away.
Yeah. So this is one that I have an issue with. This is a statistic that I have an issue with. 28% of leading companies use AI for marketing. Now, there's a problem with this statistic because a lot of companies are using AI, and especially like much more, companies that are way lower down the totem pole. Of course, 28% of leading firms use AI. They're trying everything and they have the resources to try it. Exactly. Doesn't mean it's working, doesn't mean it's successful. So I would like more specifics on this one.
Like for you said that MIT research,
yeah, exactly.
95% of AI companies
it's
fail.
It's also so difficult. This is such a polarizing issue. It's difficult to find any good statistics about it because internal statistics usually come from companies that sell these chatbots and AI agents, and bad statistics usually come from, usually the opposite side of statistics usually come from companies that do reporting on, hey, this project failed for us. I don't know if the people whose project succeeded are showing up perfectly fine, So it's really polarizing. You either get it's really a love it or hate it kind of field, because some people come in and they're like, this is the future. The other people are like, this is destroying my company, and there's no middle ground anymore.
That's true. I agree with you. I think as mentioned in the previous let's say part, that is a double-edged sword. There are going to be people that are going to be pushed out of the market, right? So if you don't have like a skill in your intel and marketing or some sort of data entry clerk, you're kind of screwed. Also, like if you're on the actual marketing side and say, hey, I had telemarketeers, now I can, like, and I was paying them hundreds of thousands a year, and now I can plug in a chatbot, like a whatever AI call agent, and it's going to call nonstop every day and always going to try to close a sale. And it's going to not sleep, not eat, and cost me €1 a day. Like, that's what you can do. So in any language, it's insane.
Anyway, I've got a slightly harrowing statistic because we don't have enough of those right now.
What is it?
By 2023, there was the estimation. 75% of HR inquiries will be initiated through conversational AI platforms.
Yeah. We've seen that, right?
We've seen it happening already. And as soon as people find out, they've sort of vandalized their data.
Yeah, it's like a guy who was dressed up as a banana giving ridiculous answers for 7 hours with the interview and just stretching it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's doing a hell lot more damage to the AI data center that has to store all of this.
Talking about AI data centers, I've seen somewhere as well, like a statistic, how much energy or how much water do you need?
Yeah, each prompt is like a liter of water or something.
It was like about boiling an egg, then it was about ChatGPT requests, and it was about making a burger. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
And then apparently to make a burger, you need 600 liters of water.
Do you remember OpenAI literally had to say to people, please stop saying thank you to the AI. It burns like so much water. It costs us a lot of money. Stop saying thank you.
Wow. Yeah, well, basically that's the thing, right? But they trying to... what was it? I think it was ChatGPT or OpenAI GPT LinkedIn group that's like, look what vegetarians and vegans are now saying. Like, one burger is 600 liters, so stop eating burgers.
Yeah, I guess so, but I mean they have a point, but
Yeah.
that has more to do with farming conditions than anything else.
Yeah, but they're trying to compare things, right? And to say that
Yeah.
the ChatGPT issue is not that bad, like or whatever
They're
AI.
trying to say that, but one prompt is also Googleable. It's not like we don't have an alternative that's much lower energy.
That's also true.
Right. I mean, you try growing your own farm with cows, and then we'll talk.
I like that it's the people's fault in the end.
Yeah. But in my case, it's the company's fault. They should have done what DeepSeek did, and they had like 20% of the actual energy consumption, but they rushed a model that consumes too much energy.
Yeah.
And doesn't do nearly enough of the same stuff for way more space and way more data. That's a whole different topic, but the end point being a lot of AI models are rushed, and be careful which ones you choose.
Fair.
Chatbots in finance.
Tell me.
80% of banking and consumer service users use the same chatbot repeatedly.
Curious, which reason? Banking and consumer services.
I imagine something like Claude would be good at this, right? It's very mathematical.
Then I could see, but is it users or is it within companies?
Service users.
Yeah.
Banking and consumer service users.
Interesting. Like I have many banks and none of them has a GPT connected to it.
I think this is the users as in consumers.
Well then just like a chat, I guess, again.
Mm-hmm. So they would go back to the same chatbot after they once.
Okay, yeah, then it makes sense.
Right.
All right.
So there's a loyalty thing going on here.
Okay, I spoke to them before. They know what I want. Okay.
The top use case for banking and consumer service chatbots is troubleshooting issues and managing accounts.
Fair.
Yeah, fair enough. So from 2022 to 2023, number of times buyers expressed gratitude through chat nearly doubled. So a lot of thank yous going on.
Did you say thank you to? Well, when robots take over, they're not going to kill me.
I remember you.
You said thank you every time.
I think Grok is going to be the first one that goes insane for obvious reasons.
You did not say thank you. You did not say thank you.
Black person.
Easy.
Anyway, that's the end of my statistics over there. But we also have to get into the back and forth about the pros and cons of these.
Go ahead.
All right. Our chatbot's secure, but data confidentiality and integrity is a problem. We covered this on the previous piece of news, I think 2-3 weeks ago, where ChatGPT's chats were being indexed by Google.
Yes, and it's being publicly displayed as a indexable link. Yeah.
I think that's a data breach.
It is, but it's also very sloppy from the perspective of any company that did that, because it's such a simple solution.
Yeah. Malicious attacks and AI stuff will constantly happen, like we talked about ransomware.
Yeah, you can upload a code, or you can kind of make the chatbots give you a discount, or you can make them like give you a password as an admin.
We also talked about prompt squatting, you remember?
Yes.
And this is basically when you use a prompt so much or wait for a prompt to be filled, and you put like bad data or even malware waiting to be entered, and for a person to look up certain information, so they get either doxed or have malware in their computer. Anyway, that's a danger as well, and it's something companies will have to reckon with.
Yes, sometimes there's an exploit. It's called SQL injection. So SQL is
SQL.
Yeah. So it's a programming language that, for example, if a chatbot says, "What's your name?" and you give your first name, and it already writes it down into the database. But if your first name is an executable command, then basically it's gonna write down into the database and execute your malicious command. It's a very simple explanation. It doesn't work that directly, but as an example.
And then there's like all these Python codes you can get. And if you receive one of those WhatsApp messages or Telegram or something, and they're like, "Oh, blah blah blah, hi, we met long ago," and it's like clearly a phishing email.
Yeah,
you can just enter that Python code, and it'll tell you exactly what the model is, and reply to, and just be honest with you after that point.
Yeah. I've seen
those. Are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That said, ethical AI bias and toxicity. So model output bias is always an issue.
Yeah.
Always based on the training data. If you're a coder, you're probably using Claude. If you're on ChatGPT, you're probably using it for a lot more linguistic purposes. But at the same time, these they all have just like they have voice. They also have certain parameters which decide which facts they prioritize when answering a question. So this can obviously be biased. Like DeepSeek is a great example because if you ask it what Tiananmen Square was, it doesn't really give you an answer.
That's true. But also, like, this is I want to say this. It kind of goes into self-fulfilling prophecy or like a data loop bias.
Yeah.
So one of the other dangers, it's called a feedback loop danger, right? So most dangerous aspect of algorithm bias is the ability when it kind of creates self-perpetuating cycle, right? So for example, there's a AI chatbot or an algorithm that predicts like policing algorithm that might send more officers to minority neighborhoods, right? So based on the historical data, this increased the police presence in that kind of neighborhood.
But that also increases police encounters,
right,
because they're not having encounters anywhere else, and then the police starts overdoing it right in that area, thinking, oh, encounters automatically mean there was crime there.
Yeah, exactly. So then, as you said, more arrests in the neighborhood, which also then feeds back into the system saying, hey, there's new data that is proving the fact that neighborhood was bad. Therefore, it predicts that it was correct. So it's kind of a reward system. So if you reward the AI that it did something correct, it's going to start doing that much more. So that's how machine learning generally like works on the like reward and non-reward system or like a punishment system.
Yeah, these feedback loops are just going to be more and more informed because nobody really understands statistics anymore. I'm so bummed about that.
It's also very selective. Like me working with data constantly, I find myself being very selective. Sometimes I'm like, oh, but this confirms my bias, what I wanted to say. And then I isolate it from everything. But sometimes I do kind of a reverse check to myself, like, is what I'm looking at true, or is it just I want to believe in what I'm looking at? And to kind of face that, I go look at other data, or sometimes I even actually ask ChatGPT, say, this is what I think. Like, which critical questions should I ask myself? Because I can't kind of play the devil's advocate against myself because I'm so smart and nice. But then I ask it to kind of help me understand. And it does. It's not like I ask about feelings. I'm like, what do people normally ask people who found this thing? They're like, what about that? I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know about that. And then I go investigate. I find myself sometimes finding very crucial data points with that.
When something subjective happens there, I usually step back and I always go like, okay, is the base fact that I'm basing this on even true? Like, for example, if we were having like a discussion about immigration in Eastern Europe, and somebody was like, yeah, but this is such a big issue and blah blah blah. People are so angry about it. I'm like, okay, let me just look up what the immigration in this country is, and it was like minus. More people were leaving than going there, and I'm like, so you've just gotten emotionally worked up about a thing that isn't even happening,
Yeah.
What are we arguing about? We might as well be arguing about whether people should be afraid of zombies,
Yeah. No, but that's true. With Eastern Europe, I agree. Like, more people are leaving, but they're saying, oh, there's a replacement rate.
But they're still like so concerned about, for example, a replacement happening to them and for the culture changing. I'm like, man, you're at negative rates.
It's more of a...
When will you be happy? How many more people need to leave?
It's a small country problem, man.
I know. But it's because they... this is going into weird places, but it's mainly because they watch too much American TV.
Well, or you have Facebook ads that influence your behavior as well.
Don't ask me about this. Those are your country's problems.
Cambridge Analytica was actually like Cambridge Analytica is one of those kind of cases that, if everyone doesn't know, Cambridge Analytica was exposed of using Facebook ads and kind of all these learnings about you to influence your political stance a little bit, so it will understand which way you want to go. And actually, Lithuania was using their services for political needs. So it was exposed. So even such a small country of like 2 million people, they're like, oh, that's going to be very cheap to convince people to be left-wing or right-wing. So very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, those days are getting even more prominent. I'd like to think they were over, but no.
No.
It's we're only in the beginning of this. Especially with AI.
That's true, because it's gonna be hands-off manipulation and propaganda.
It was one of those things where like people were terrified that AI would lead to it being used to fool people, but now it's being used as a sort of, haha, this is obviously fake, but don't you want to believe it?
Well, it's the people being fooled themselves. I think people are fooling themselves.
You've seen those fake interviews that they do in like these refugees get off a boat and they're instantly, what's your plan? Nothing. I've just come here to take your benefits.
Yeah,
that was being created from like AI stuff.
Yeah.
And people are like, ha ha ha, this is so obviously fake, but I also want to believe it. So it's become a form of comedy and humor and self-reinforcing bias.
Yeah, that's also like, but again, it's about critical thinking, man.
It's not, but in this case, they get to have it both ways. They're like, of course I don't believe this shit, but it has a point. you know what I mean?
It's like
you get to do both. You get to do both.
This is art. What's the message?
But that's how so much of like so much of political commentary usually works. I don't care if it's true. It feels self-validating.
Yeah, fair.
No, and nobody's like, these aren't rational things that people do. This is why I talk about the whole thing where, like, before you even get into the argument, step back, statistically look at if it's actually a thing,
Yeah,
people.
not everyone thinks in statistics and numbers.
That's their problem, not mine.
Everyone's an idiot.
I am, of course, always rational, Alex. No, look, I have my own irrational points, but that's why when I feel one coming on, I just fucking step back.
Yeah, fair. All right, what are we talking about? Do you have any more things, or are we going to talk about what's the next step with this?
We also wanted to talk about a few cases.
Go ahead.
All right. Let me find my page, actually. But there's always been integration challenges with various LLMs and things like that.
We're using the information that is true, like Air Canada or something that got basically sued in court because they came up with a fake case or something like that.
Yeah, and then it happened to KLM as well, the airline one, close to our hearts.
What happened?
The KLM Airlines Twitter chatbot had miscommunication problem when responding to COVID-19 related questions.
Ooh.
It incorrectly informed users about travel restrictions that did not exist.
Wow, okay.
And refund policies that did not exist, causing frustration among passengers who needed accurate real-time information during the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah, that's especially when you shouldn't have an age. There's so many people unemployed. Just hire one of them guys.
Well, one, I think it's not enough, but indeed. I've seen, what was it during, I think it was also like during COVID. What?
This one's another one close to your heart.
Okay, go ahead.
Yandex.
Yeah.
So Yandex released Alice,
Mhm.
their particular AI chatbot. And so the people were talking to this one, and the Yandex chatbot obviously started doing pro-Stalin propaganda.
Wow.
For some reason, it was a Stalinist AI.
Someone's making a joke.
Then it was a support for domestic violence. It showed this.
Yeah,
Child abuse and suicide as yeah. Alice was available for one-on-one conversations, making it harder to deal with her shortcomings since users couldn't collaborate publicly. Users needed creativity to prompt Alice to generate harmful content, and they found ways.
obviously. Well, I think I've seen about how you can just download like a mode for Alice, or like the same for like Google. You just download like a pre-package, and then it basically tells them how to behave back in the days when you couldn't train it or tell them or personalize. It would have to have specific queries, so it would bug out, and it would tell you that.
Yeah. A lot of these have the same lesson, which is monitor your training data and do not make your chatbot overly generalized. It cannot be an expert on all topics. Like if you're a company, at Yandex, why was anybody talking about Stalin to it?
I have no idea, man. It could be like pulling information from some sort of forum.
They might have code broken it.
Maybe.
Who knows? But there should be very clear instructions that it does not talk about that stuff.
No. Well, now you cannot talk about anything in Russia, so now it's very limited.
Yeah. Xiaobing, you know about this one?
Is it like a search?
It was Microsoft's previously successful bot Xiaobing was removed after it turned unpatriotic in China.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It was referring to Xi Jinping's China dream as my China dream is to go to America.
Oh, reminds me of a song. I'm from Bosnia.
Fly me to America.
I really want to see Statue of Liberty. Anyway. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So those were a few use case fails, and if you're gonna sell it to a foreign country, make it at least patriotic to that country, I guess.
Yeah, I had one as well, like manifestations when it comes to case studies from Amazon experimental recruiting AI.
Yeah.
So basically, I was trained on a decade of resumes, like of male-dominated tech industry, and then the system basically taught itself to personalize resumes that include the word woman.
Discrimination.
Yeah, so as a women's chess club captain, and downgraded the graduate, like, well, basically the graduates of all women's colleges and so on. So basically, it's like anytime it was like a woman and she had been somewhere, like, nope, go up. So like it's basically the reward system.
Yeah.
So anytime a keyword is not reinforced, let's say it's in the negative, so it's like a punishment. So it basically pushed it down.
It's amazing that HR companies are this lazy.
I know.
They need to field all of these things. Just read them yourself, guys. Get a summary.
Or like in general, or the NLP models that we spoke about, they consistently demonstrate gender stereotypes such as associating doctor with the male pronouns and nurse with the female pronouns in language translations. Or
But, I mean,
linking
people
men,
do that as well.
that's true. Or linking men into like competencies. Some like some men are competent and women with like more domesticity, right? So it basically notorious example when it's like a word has a gender split right away and a bias that shouldn't be there.
Like doctor for men and
Nurse for women.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what to do? I have kind of a solution. Or do you want to raise anything else when it comes to what's the next step?
I mean, we're trying so hard to make AGI happen that people are learning more about the failures of chatbots. If they had slowly been developing them to be more and more broad and not building these massive data centers that completely are way too expensive for the companies that are setting them up, they might have been able to progressively make the chatbots more integrated and grow them out. And now it's just become unsustainable growth. That's one of those issues, and they're trying to push it for everything. And you're like, and we're seeing more cases where, because they're trying to push them for everything, we're seeing more cases where they fail than we would otherwise.
I think it will make a split in the, like in people. There will be me who want to live in a forest, and there are going to be those tech bros that need everything
To
online.
be done by AI.
Yeah.
Basically, they want a mommy.
Have you seen there's like this meme going around? It's like there's a student in classroom who says like, so hello, we have a new student, what's your name? And he's like, ChatGPT's offline, how do I say what's my name and where I'm from? So like, what is my name? People asking ChatGPT, so they cannot answer anything without
ChatGPT is emotional support animal.
and everything. It's literally everything, and that's the concern I have. That people will really stop doing things themselves. They're like, oh, you need to ask ChatGPT what to do.
Yeah.
Do you want to go for a walk, ChatGPT? Do you want to go for a walk?
Yeah, I know. It's actually, it's actually getting like ridiculous at this point. And look, there are certain elements where, like, okay, a friend of mine was using ChatGPT to tell him what movie to watch.
Yeah.
Right? But he had a clever way of going about it. He would be like, I need a movie with specifically this kind of scene and atmosphere and mood with it. And ChatGPT obviously has a word cloud that it associates with certain movies that may or may not be true.
Yeah.
God knows, right? So it kind of just gave like, oh, here's 3 movies that like have this mood and this thing and this thing. And it was a pretty good list.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah, it was more specific than saying, oh, I want a horror movie, you know?
Fair.
Because
that's a big category.
I want a horror movie with that takes place primarily in the day with this kind of atmosphere and no slasher.
So this is more long tail keywords in a way.
Yeah, it has all of this gigantic cloud of words that it associates with each topic. And because it's able to draw, this movie has this thing, it's being described this way in the comment section, and on Reddit it said this. It can kind of do what would normally take so many searches in one go.
I'll give you and everyone else a hack. ChatGPT, if you go to OpenAI, you go to models or like instances,
Yeah.
it has a prompt converter or prompt enhancer. You give your prompt, you click enhance, and it will tell you how you should write your prompt and why. And that will basically rewrite your prompt in a more correct way or more understandable way for LLMs. And then you can copy paste it into normal ChatGPT. But it will teach you and show you how you should ask and why and how is it working in terms of thinking. So that's another like cool way of doing that.
Awesome. That said, do you have any notes for the future?
Yes, so I called it the next frontier. So basically what to do, right? Or what you want to do, or if you want to do it.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm like, yes, this is all trauma and too much, and we're moving in the wrong direction. But also, I'm kind of curious where it's going to lead and where I can use it. So, some things you can solve. So, proactive on autonomous AI. So, the future is kind of, as you said, shifting to kind of reactive commands to proactive, context-aware assistance, and so on. So, for me, for example, if I have a smart watch and it sees that my heart is suddenly not beating, I wanted to make decisions because that's going to help like any kind of old person, right? You know, those like, oh, there's a watch. If an old person you feel bad, click a button. There's like one button watch that will call a company, call your friends, send a message, blah, blah, blah. But I want this to maybe, what if I like pass out?
I'd want that in a pacemaker, not a watch.
For example, a pacemaker. It doesn't matter. I'm giving you like a wearable example, right?
So because I'd take off the watch, it calls an ambulance. That would be,
but it will know
what the AI would do.
It will know, but like basically you can do much more complex, like complicated and complex workflows independently, or kind of raising a new question of course, like when you do that, what is the ethical and legal accountability of the companies that provide the service, right? So you have to keep someone accountable. I want it to work. And kind of, I want this to work because there's so many cool use cases you can do. But my problem is that I don't trust the people managing it. I don't trust the companies that are doing it. I don't trust the governments that are like fighting for like, oh, let's protect the kids. Let's ban Wikipedia. Like this is where I don't agree. But I agree with where it's moving and how helpful it can be. The other one is multimodal and kind of emotionally aware in like interactions. So if some people, as we'll listen to part one when we spoke a guy unalived himself, like what if that interaction will become more natural, right? So what if he would do that? Like he would say, hey, let me talk to my GPT, and then while interacting and kind of asking these questions or gesturing something, it will understand your mood, your maybe like how ready you are to take an action or something. And this AI can basically help you emotionally because it will adapt to your, let's say it will have emotional intelligence, put it this way. So it not only has the information, which is IQ, it will have EQ, which is emotional intelligence.
Well,
and then
kind of. It'll be able to replicate the best practices in accordance with each.
Yes, it would be.
That's a lot more of a mouthful, but it's more accurate.
That's true. It's not that it has emotional intelligence, but it will be.
It'll be trained better to emulate it properly.
Yeah, it would emulate it, and then it will emulate, let's say, simulate empathy, right? To kind of genuine feelings. But then it will maybe help you as well to deal with things. I'm not saying that use ChatGPT as a psychologist, but I'm saying that maybe it can still help just with these small tweaks. And the other one is augmented collaboration. This is where I think it's going to be exciting. So basically, the most productive vision for the future, and in general, so not human replacement, but like a human AI partnership.
Augmentation.
So you enhance things. We spoke when we went to a TNW event in June. One of the guys who was in the military, he basically said that we use AI, that if there's a guy in like on the radio and let's say in the middle of some sort of the war, and there's like bombs exploding and there's a lot of noise and so on.
So it can reduce the clutter around them.
Exactly. So
maybe do geo-positioning as well.
Yeah, so AI would basically filter out and help you hear the other person. So it would filter out the noise because it would recognize that this is not speech. Therefore, let me mute it so it's going to be much clearer and faster communication, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like AI can act as a co-pilot, right? Automating some routines at work, free humans to focus on creativity or maybe more hobbies, let's put it this way. As we said, order stuff to the fridge, clean my house, purify air, do this, call that.
This kind of gets into one of the things that I always think, that it's very good at refining stuff that you needed to do. but not inventing entirely new stuff.
Exactly. So it's about what we said, the feedback loop, right? The more AI thinks that neighborhood is bad, the more police goes, the more arrests, the more it thinks that it's bad. But also it can kind of that loop can be used in positive things. So like, oh, every time you need like more time to go to the gym, what if it's gonna prepare everything so you like leave your home faster? I don't know how, but it would basically enhance your already like your habit.
That'd be a nightmare for somebody like me who loves to shake it up all the time, you know. But still, I also think like people need to be less trusting of their AIs, just automatically taking everything for granted. Like, keep in mind when GPT and all these the precursors to them consistently used to say the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
You know what the reason for that was?
What?
There's a lot more sources on the internet arguing that the Earth is flat, and a lot fewer that need to argue that the Earth is round, because no sane person usually does.
That's true.
So there's a model bias that was like, oh, more people are saying this, so I'm just gonna use modal analysis and grab that shit.
It's reinforcing bias, right?
Yeah.
So, but and this is where you also have the legislative part, right? So, like I spoke that all this is great, but I don't trust the companies, so they need to be regulated.
Yeah.
For example, there was one risk, like long-term and existential risk that was raised of advanced AI, because obviously people are like, oh, it poses potential long-term risk. It can like basically set a nuclear missile somewhere because it thinks that something's bad, right? So including this lethal autonomous weapon system, we call it LAWS, LAWS.
Yeah.
And basically the alignment problem. So the challenge is ensuring that potential super intelligence will not kind of go against human values. And is like, how do we avoid the existential threat that some AI or super intelligence will decide that, oh, you know what is better for the world? Nuke the Netherlands. So like how to do that. And there are actually a bunch of things that are happening in the world. So European Union has an AI Act where the core philosophy is rights-based, human-centric, and risk tiered. So approach to this is primarily limited risk. So regulating transparency for the high risk and sensitive context like employment and healthcare and kind of recruitment. And the key requirements is risk assessment of human oversight of the system. So they would say, oh, we need AI, therefore there should be a person overviewing it. So if the company knocks your door in European Union and have an AI process and there's no official manager of the process who oversees it or responsible for it, you're in trouble. So the enforcement is protection of human fundamental rights and consumer safety and building a trustworthy AI with a human on top of that. In the United States, they have a very different way of working with it because it's all the Silicon Valley, tech bros. So for them, it's market-driven, pro-innovation, and sector-specific. So they're like, everyone can use it except you, and you. Everyone's fine, but except you, and you. So they kind of called as a patchwork on the state laws. So bots disclosure, AI in hiring, and specific use cases like mental health. So they patch it. They're like, oh, bad thingy happened, patch. Bad thingy happened, patch. They stole a lot of money, patch. This is bad, or whatever. So again, it's a very selective regulation in the United States when it comes to, like, again, on the federal and state level. So it varies by state, including like bot disclosure, bias audits, and employment tools that are like had to pass some sort of regulation. So like, I have a new AI startup with which is employment tool. They're like, does it have AI? Yes, ban in some states. And basically the enforcement of this is preventing consumers deception by the FTC. So enforcing the anti-discrimination laws, state-specific violations, and so on. And the last one is China, the People's Republic of China. So what they do, the core philosophy is state-centric, focused on social stability and information control. So they're like, we own everything.
Mentioned DeepSeek won't tell you what happened at Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, so like it's full control of everything. So the government decides a strict regulation of all the public-facing services. Providers are liable for generating content. So if your AI does something wrong, your company is dead.
I do like that they have mandatory labeling of all AI content.
Yeah, so
that one's a really good policy.
And mandatory, so like labeling all the contents, it's true and accurate. Outputs, algorithm, and registry security assessments. And the last one is basically the enforcement is maintaining national security, content censorship. Thank you, Iron Curtain. And basically preventing of all the spread of false information, whatever that is. So for me, this is kind of like what I like that they do, like, but everyone, you see,
Bits and pieces of everybody's policies might be nice.
there's no one way. Like you can see, Europe is like protect, 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 less, less. US is like doesn't make money where it doesn't, ban there, and the rest is like free market. And China is like no, governmental control.
At this point, it isn't even making money. That's the funny part.
Yeah, it's burning through.
It's burning through right now. It's still in the growth phase, you know.
Yeah.
So it's funny for me in the US. They're just like, oh, let's see what happens on an untested technology. But hey, they call it innovation. We call it, something else.
Yeah, Europe has all this like we need to protect our heritage in some places, but then they forget about others, and then anyway. So like in my head,
But it's also a positional thing. Sorry to interrupt. It's also a positional thing. America's inventing AI, so it has no problem with it. Europe isn't really inventing many AIs.
no,
Not that I know of, right?
just copy paste.
We don't have like little coding farms anywhere around
No,
that are doing stuff. So they're much more on the defensive footing. They're like, well, if this is an American a company making money while displacing all of our workers, why would we want that?
which is fair, and I understand the
And
perspective.
in terms of China, they're like, well, this has the potential to fabricate stuff, and they've functioned thus far as a closed system, going like, okay, these are things that are completely off limits in our society, and they're such a big country that
They can also this AI stuff can generate anything because there's so much data.
they're also kind of always under attack from the West.
That's also very
Like you said yourself, this is not the country I expected when I got there.
yeah,
From what you'd heard about,
yeah, absolutely. But it's very nice. But
but we have this fascination with always saying, "Oh, they're so like backward in some ways. They're so like this." And I think that has put a defensiveness on China, especially where AI could spread misinformation even more readily.
for me, it's more like a synthesis. When I was there, I realized that everything they said might be true, but that's not what people think is good as well. So it's
Yeah.
like from the outer world, there's a perception, but inside, they kind of have the same understanding as people from the outside. They disagree, but they live in it, so they have to oblige and comply.
Mhm.
But so I feel it's like a synthesis and kind of a merging of two worlds there. That like what is true, what they're against, and what do people think, and it's kind of all like at the same pool, and it's true. To wrap up this, kind of my again final thoughts is that there's some cool stuff going on. There's like robust AI blow off tops like bubble that might happen. There are security risks.
Most of these companies are going to collapse. Those data centers are way, way, way too
They will
expensive
have
to
too
run.
much information to do something else. They'll find a way to do something, but basically,
Projections are 2 years, by the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
Whoa. So,
Anyway,
so
go
in
for
2
it.
years, bubble is going to burst. We're going to have a bunch of energy now that we can use for something else.
And
Electric cars are going to be the new thing.
I don't know. There's going to be overconsumption of like data centers that will just disappear. So I think those data centers will be bought by like Amazon, and if Meta's still around,
Maybe.
those companies are just going to buy them for to ease the load off of their systems. Anyway,
And we
that's
can
my
finally say thank you.
that's predictive, obviously.
Yeah, we can say thank you for chatbots again. But yeah, all in all, interesting direction, many perspective, a lot of protection, and I like the fact that it is an innovation. It is happening. There are some cool things that can happen as long as it's safe and protected.
Yeah.
So, thank you for listening. Like, follow, subscribe, and if you have any comments, even if we suck at podcasting, that like last comment on TikTok said, please do that as well.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, you.